Hello, buddies, fellow Franco fans. I am your host, Jason Rudy of Desperate Visions Productions, Sacramento filmmaker with 12 films, plus many other projects, but I'll just go into that. So yeah, if you want to check me out, you can look me up for Desperate Visions Productions or my photography at Mondo Visions Photography. I'm a filmmaker, photographer, artist, producer, editor, scriptwriter, do a lot of things. I used to wrestle. So this is episode 6 of the Franco Observer Podcast. Of course, you know it's a podcast because we're listening. On this one, it's our first Zoom episode, and my co-host this week is Greta Carey from the beautiful state of Washington. So I'm in Sacramento, California, and she's up by Seattle in Washington. So it's kind of cool to have a California and Washington Zoom show, our first. I will be doing another Zoom coming up with my buddy Dan Farron down in Los Angeles, California, and we'll be reviewing The Girl from Rio, but that will be a few episodes from now, so be on the lookout for that. This week we review the film Bloody Moon by Jess Franco. Bloody Moon was made in 1980, and this is the 100th film that Jess Franco directed. At the Flowers of Perversion and the other book by Stephen Thrower, filmography in the back of all the things he directed by himself and for other people and other uncredited works and such. But as a feature film director for himself, not for himself, but as himself, or his other names, AMF or AFF Frank and other pseudonyms. This is the 100th film, according to his filmography. So, for this, the 6th episode, we do Bloody Moon once again, and this was made in 1980, like I said before, and the theatrical title is actually is a West German production. The original theatrical title in the country of origin is Die Sog des Todes, and that's the Saw of Death. And even though it's called Bloody Moon, on all the advertising art, you always see the giant buzzsaw with the woman's face and then the blood. So they really, and that buzzsaw scene is one of the high points of the film, one of the murder set pieces. And this was interesting because there was a lot of those in there, but it's good. So, alternative titles. Spanish theatrical is Colegias Violades, which is Violated Schoolgirls. The French theatrical is Blood Moon, Lune de Sang. French video, La Lune de Sang. The Italian theatrical is Profonde Tenebrae, which is Deep Darkness. And they try to market this as a Dario Argento type giallo film because there is a lot of the touches in here. The black gloved killer, some of the shots, the woman hanging from the ceiling, and a lot of giallo framework and formula for this, among other things. Orgia Sangriante is the Argentina or Mexican theatrical title. The Denmark one is Sexmord på Pigskolen, Sex Murder at the Girls' School. And the Argentino video cover, Terre Morete en les Universidad. And Argentina video is Criminales Vicios. And there's also a Greek. An unconfirmed title was The Blood Moon Murders, Belgian video. Production companies for this is Lisa Metro Film and Rapid Films out of Munich. And shooting was done on this in October of 1980. And it came out in Germany in March 27th of 1981. Followed by Germany, it did Cannes in May 20th of 81. Then played Madrid in December 14th of 81. Then Seville in March 18th of 82. And it was certified X in UK, that's part of the Video Nasties. So that was in January 26th of 82. Got the X rating there for violence. Then it played Cartagena on May 82, and Alest, Belgium, in August 27th of 82, then played London finally in November of 82, and Barcelona in June of 84. Never played theatrically in the United States, but did show up on video, VHS. Video DVD running times, converted where necessary, is 85 minutes. The Germany theatrical run was 84:23, and that's converted, so that's about right. There's no cuts. But the UK one cut from 85:03 down to 83:27. So yeah, it's about a minute and a half there of cuts. So that would, of course, be the violence. The director of this, of course, is Jess Franco as Jesus Franco. Executive producer Eric Tomek. Producer Wolf Hardvig. Screenplay Eric Tomek as Rayo Casablanca, which is really dumb. I think this is, Franco said, the only script the guy ever did, but I didn't check. Camera assistant, the director of photography is Juan Soler Kozar. Camera assistant Fatima Ochanado. Let's see who else we got on here. Special effects Juan Ramon Molina. Art director Klaus Haas. Assistant director Lena Romay. Okay, there answers my question. I was wondering why she wasn't in this, so that's cool. Lena Romay is the assistant director on this as Rosa Amaral. The editor is Carl Ozlitsky. See, that's cool. I'm glad I went deep with the credits on this, so that's cool. Lena Romay was the assistant director. The song Love in the Shadow by Frank Duval, and that was the one that's played all the way through, I believe, on the record player, on the train, and during different scenes. Let's see. Love in the Shadow, uncredited. Love in the Shadow, orchestrated and conducted by Michael DuPont. And first camera operator is Jess Franco. So, in this one, Jess Franco was the camera operator and the director, which is great. So he was camera operator and director, like I always do. And then Lena Romay was the assistant director, so she worked with him. Because the character of Manuela Gonzalez reminded me of Lena Romay. Me and Greta spoke about that. And I was wondering why Lena Romay wasn't in there, because the woman resembled her, and that would have been her part, I believe. So it's cool that she was assistant director instead of being the actor for that. The cast in this is Olivia Pascal as Angela, is the lead. She's really good in this. She was in a lot of German films over there, and this is one of her first, actually, this is a German film, so yeah. But she's really good in this. Alexander Vacher played Miguel Gonzalez. He's the fellow with the scarring on his face. Nadja Gurganov played Manuela Gonzalez. That's Miguel's sister. She's the evil, conniving sister in this. Christoph Moosberger plays Alvarado. He's the head of the language school. He's a really good heel in this. He kind of resembles a thinner James Caan, kind of, with the really curly hair. And he's a good actor in this. I'd say him and his character and Olivia Pascal as Angela are probably the two best actors in this film, or their performances, I should say. Jasmine Lozinski plays Inga. Otto W. Retger plays Paco, the handyman, who's the only other male on campus besides Alvaro. So Alvaro and Paco. I'm sorry. Well, actually, there's the brother and the one of the other handyman assistant, the bald-headed guy. And Beat Angeliki plays Ava. Corina Drews as Corinna Grewald plays Laura. Got all these credits and all these names. Peter X. Kustas plays Antonio, the Countess's gardener. He must be the bald-headed fellow. Maria Rubio plays Countess Maria Gonzalez, Miguel's aunt. She's the older lady in the wheelchair. Antonio Garcia plays Elvira, Alvaro's secretary. She's only in it for a couple scenes. She's very intense. Beatrix Sancho Noete plays Rita. And Jess Franco plays Dr. Domingo Undos, who's almost like Dr. Pleasant's Dr. Loomis character in Halloween, letting the brother out of the insane asylum after the killing. And that was his doctor. So, let's see. Okay, so what do we want to go over? We did the dates of filming. We did the release dates. We did the different titles. DVD, Blu-ray releases. This one I watched on the Severn Blu-ray release for the American market. I know this film was released quite a bit over the years on different VHS brands and different DVDs and Blu-rays. I'm sure there's probably half dozen worldwide releases of this for German markets, Italian markets. I don't know, there might even be a Japanese release of this, I'm not sure. Anybody listening to this that would like to share it, if you're on Facebook, you can look up the Franco Observer, and we have a page now for the Franco Observer Podcast, and you can share any pictures or any reviews or any questions or add things or have Franco conversation there. And you can also reach me at francoobserver@yahoo.com. You can send any emails there or questions, comments, any things you'd like to see on the show, any films you want reviewed, any questions you have, please send them there. francoobserver@yahoo or the Franco Observer Facebook page. So, what else do we want to talk about here? This is going to be kind of a longer review compared to the other ones. It's going to be maybe about an hour episode, so I'm going to kind of not run this a little too long in the beginning. Film notes for this. Yeah, we both really enjoyed it. This has a really good pace, even though Franco says he didn't write any of this. And in the interviews afterwards, he says that they didn't take any of his suggestions. There is a few of his frame marks or trademarks with this. Like I was saying in the review portion, the sister trying to swindle her brother out of the inheritance reminded me of Sexy Sisters that we did back on episode 4, where she tries to get her sister to go insane and do something or kill somebody so she can get the fortune. And that is used again in this episode. There is a dance scene, of course, and dance scene in all of Franco's films. This one is with the disco club, and there's black walls in this again. There's seems to be a lot of the rooms for entertaining and things that happen like that usually have black walls, I seem to find in this era in his films. So that's a running through a line through all the reviews. With this, the Franco Observer, we're always trying to have praise and a memory of Jess Franco, bringing the name and films of Jess Franco to new eyes and ears. I recently purchased another 11 Jess Franco films, and I have pictures of those posted on the page. A lot of the more rare ones, and about 2 days ago I ordered another 7. I ordered Justine and the Whip, Girl in the See-Through Panties, Death Stalker of Soho, The Rafifi in the City, Death Whistles the Blues, Necronomicon, which is the original cut of Succubus before AIP re-edited it, changed a bunch of the music, did other things to it, and Vengeance of Dr. Mabuse. I inquired about 3 other titles that I've been looking for. The Other Side of the Mirror, which has been a personal quest of mine to find, Tender and Perverse Emmanuel, and Kiss Me Killer. And my seller told me he had all 3, so those 3 I'm going to be ordering next week. And I have about another 5 or 6 that isn't listed that I'm asking about. And then I will add those to the list, and that will be about 5 there. The other 3 will be about 8, and then there's still about another 10 or so from him that I still need to get, so that'll take me up to about 130, 140, somewhere around there in the Franco account when all is said and done. So getting pretty close to finishing up the majority of it. The later years, I'm still picking up some of those piece by piece. Gonna get Blind Target being sent this week through eBay and a few other things. So I'm going to wrap up this portion. Well, yeah, one thing I'm going to be saying is that we're going to be trying to add in trailers of the Franco film that we are reviewing. So this week, after this portion, you're going to hear the bumper music and then the trailer for Bloody Moon, and then off to the review portion of the film. So, of the podcast. The review portion of the film for the podcast. Once again, thank you all for listening. Our numbers are going up. We now have over 200 downloads of the Franco Observer Podcast, and we have listeners in the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, Portugal, Spain, Canada, Italy, France, Finland, Austria, the Philippines, the Netherlands, the Czech Republic, and Australia. Thank you all very much for that. Right now, the top downloaded city is Stoneham, followed by Madrid, and then Mansfield. Those are our three tops. And number 4 is Kaysville. I believe that's in Utah, so I believe that's a listener named Jared. That's as far as Kaysville. Shout out to Kaysville. And shout out to Stoneham. If you're listening in Stoneham, please add us, Franco Observer page. Let us know you're listening, or send us a friend request. I'm always happy to meet new Franco fans. I am a newer devotee, and there's people I know that have been into his films for 30, 40, 50 years, so that's always awesome. So yeah, this is, once again, episode 6, the Franco Observer Podcast. We review Bloody Moon, 1980, just Franco. Here we go.
Your kiss is cold and icy as death. Your embrace deep as the night. Ava's been murdered.
That's nonsense.
He wants to kill me too.
Bloody Moon. Summer nights filled with horror. A killer whose lust for blood will stop at nothing. Nights of blood. Nights of terror that will leave you breathless. Young girls in search of love and adventure become the prey of a bloodthirsty killer. Now you'll be mine.
Let me go. I'm dying to sleep with him. I can't wait till tonight. I wish you were here now.
Fear will grip you on this holiday of terror. A dream vacation becomes a nightmare. Bloody Moon, a film you won't soon forget. Bloody Moon.
Hello, I am your host, Jason Rudy, and thank you once again for joining us for the Franco Observer. This is episode 6 of the Franco Observer. I'm starting to lose count now, which is kind of sad. It's only like the 6th episode. So yeah, this is different. I had a change in plans because usually record on a Thursday, but Eric wasn't available. Oh, actually, scratch that. We usually tape on a Thursday, but I tried to switch it to a Wednesday, and there was the NBA draft, and Eric couldn't join me for that. So then I had a solo show that I had done before that as a backup, and it just perfectly fit into place because I'm recording here on a Friday evening and here in Sacramento, California, and I'm speaking with my friend Greta Carey all the way in Washington. Say hello, Greta.
Hello, everybody.
I've known Greta since probably 2005.
2005, 2006, somewhere around there, probably. So, yeah, maybe going on about 15 years. Crazy. Damn. So, yeah, it's cool. When I first met Greta, we always talked film, and we had a similarity in film interests. We both like a lot of the same directors, same genre. We're both big wrestling fans. We both love the blood, sweat, and tears of film and wrestling, among other cool things. So this was my first time watching Bloody Moon. I had seen the trailer of it and stuff, but like with my past, I was always, before I got into Just Franco, like people always kind of dissed him a little bit to me and said, oh, he's kind of low budget or blah, blah, blah. So I always kind of dismissed Bloody Moon, even though I had seen like every slasher film in the 80s pretty much. And then when I watched the trailer for this a couple of days ago, I actually got really excited because the sequence of the woman tied to like the stone thing, they're pushing her in the buzzsaw and it's getting closer. I was like, holy shit, that looks like really fucking cool, you know? Excuse the language. So yeah, it was just really, I was blown away by that. But I had doing for this first Zoom episode with my friends that are farther away, I had to try to find films that are on either Amazon Prime, YouTube, or Tubi, or other streaming services, and then go from the list from there. And upon presenting Greta this list, she wholeheartedly jumped at Bloody Moon because she enjoys Bloody Moon. How many times have you seen this before, Greta?
This was I think my 5th time watching the film.
Wow. How long has it been since you last seen it?
I had not seen it. I don't think I had seen it actually since the late 90s. So this was a like really good return to viewing it with like fresh eyes and a whole new appreciation of film that I didn't have when I watched it when I was younger.
Yeah. So I always usually ask my co-host, what do they think of the film? So Greta, what did you think of Bloody Moon?
I love this film. It is probably actually one of my favorite Franco films. I think it is a sweet Franco film versus a sadistic Franco film, but you still get plenty of boobs, which, you know, you can't go wrong there. And really, you know, I love a giallo and I love a slasher and I love the peanut butter cup of the giallo slasher that Franco gives us here.
Yeah, no, most heartily agree with that. I was really surprised with this because I wasn't sure what to expect, and upon watching it, I was really impressed and I really dug it. I liked all the red herrings, and of course, like you were talking about having appreciation for film, you could see the Hitchcock, the Halloween, Dario Argento, Psycho at the end, the mother in the chair, you know, and just all these touches. I was like, oh, there's this, and so yeah, I guess. I mean, Franco's done a lot of horror stuff, but I guess this is his only slasher film from what I've read. Yeah, I mean, until I see other, I guess this is the only slasher films he's done. I actually kind of wish he would have done more because you see his style like all the way through it, you know.
Yeah, I think he could have done incredibly well because I like this as much as I like a lot of other Italian horror directors. Like, it had a lot of kind of Bava qualities. It had Argento and Fulci qualities to it. So all top directors for me. And, you know, he dabbled like so many of those guys in a lot of different genres, but I think he could have gone a lot of different ways and done more with this. Though I have heard that this was not his favorite film, that there were a lot of promises about this film, and he just kind of was like, I gave them what they wanted. They wanted, like, you know, 80 minutes of horror and to get on that whole Friday the 13th train.
Yeah, it's funny. Speaking of Friday the 13th, that's one thing that popped into me because the girl's in Bungalow 13. I was like, oh, come on, man. Like, of all the numbers, why do you got to pick 13 for the, like, just hammer it over our head, why don't you, you know? But, yeah, no, I definitely agree. Even him as the Dr. Pleasance character, like in the beginning, I was laughing at that, you know.
That is one of the great moments where you know, it's the psychiatrist and it's like, oh man, director cameo.
Yeah. And that's a fun thing about watching all these Franco films is to see if he's in a film. And sometimes you just see his hands, or sometimes he's cut out of it, or this or that. But other times he's way into it. He's one of the leads, or he's in a couple scenes, or this or that. So before I go into the film, the review of it, everything, I wanted to go back to what you were talking about, the Promises deal. I watched the Bloody Moon Severin Blu-ray, and I watched the little 20-minute deal on there where they're talking about him. And with the Promises, I guess he said that they had mentioned Pink Floyd was going to do the music for the film, which it's funny because Pink Floyd was mentioned before. They're going to do music for Caddyshack, and that was about a year before this, or maybe a year and a half, and then that didn't fall through either. And I'm like, interesting that Pink Floyd got mentioned for Bloody Moon and Caddyshack as soundtracks, which...
I mean, I already stand Caddyshack pretty hard. If Pink Floyd had done the soundtrack, what kind of like psychedelic just moment in time would that have been?
Yeah, especially this era, like 79, 80, it's like, that's like just as they were breaking up, so you don't know if it was going to be like the Wall stuff or just like David Gilmour wailing, because like that guitar track in this film all the way through, I was like, okay, that's the Pink Floyd song that they were trying to ape when they were like, okay, since we didn't get Pink Floyd, we're going to have this Pink Floyd song that plays on the train, on the record, and like all the way through these different things. And so yeah, that's the first thing after I learned the Pink Floyd thing and then read in this book and then watched that, that just kept sticking in my head, But so they promised him that, and then the script writing was, the last guy was a Casablanca, and Jess Franco kind of joked about that, He's like, Casablanca is not a horror thing. That has nothing to do with horror. That's a city or a love story or a film, not a horror. But yeah, that was I definitely enjoyed that. So, and it was cool to see. I watched a little documentary, and Lena Romay is like in the first 2 minutes, she's like getting her stuff, and then she's leaving. Like, hey, there's Lena Romay, But yeah, so I thought it was pretty cool. All right, so I guess we'll go into it. Looking up, it's kind of cool that you chose this film because this is the 100th film that Jess Franco directed. Looking up on his resume, the print. So how did you watch it? Did you watch it from a DVD, Blu-ray, streaming?
I streamed it on Amazon Prime.
Okay, good. So was the title sequence in German, where it says Bloody Moon? Okay, yep. So that's probably the Severin version then. Because like I noticed, saying this won't jump ahead or anything, but I noticed on this Blu-ray they really focused on the gore. Like there was slow motion, grainy shots from like the German print where they indulged on the close-ups a little too long, And so that's probably the print that's on Amazon Prime. I was kind of curious about that. So okay, good. Well, because Amazon Prime's known for cutting shit, so didn't sound like to cut that. Like I mentioned before, Pink Floyd was supposed to do the music for this, and they didn't do that. So it starts off with a night shot of a full moon, straight off, bloody moon. So they start off with a shot of a full moon. You see a woman pushing a wheelchair while a scarred man and woman, you find out it's his sister, are outside a disco party. So when I first watched this, I wasn't sure if like these people were kind of like crashing a party or what was going on. And then as you realize that that's the grounds where the lady has the bungalows, but the guy comes in and buys part of the property to start his language school. So I wonder what was there before, like a couple years before all that happened when the stabbing was. So I don't know. That was kind of interesting to me. But there's lovers making out in a small clearing of trees, which every Franco film, I always try to see if I can find like some fake wall or like some light that's supposed to be in the shot, or I'll always try to find something not wrong to find something wrong, but my eye just goes to something that, hey, that looks like it's, staged a little too much. Like, so in that shot, it looked like they were in like a dark studio and they had just put these little fake trees in, and the way it was lit, it just didn't look real to me. So I think that might have been a totally shot in a studio. Because that same room where they had the disco club had the black walls, so I was thinking they could have moved some of those fake trees in there because they were really thin, little trees. So that's what I saw right off the bat. So then the scarred man steals the T-shirt and a Mickey Mouse mask, and they do the POV mask shot like in Halloween. And so Halloween came out about 3 years before that, right around. So obviously that's one of the first homages you see. So then he puts on the mask and the T-shirt of the guy and woman that are making out, and he goes into the dance area where everybody's dancing, and some girl thinks it's another guy because he puts the mask on. And that scene reminded me later on of Revenge of the Nerds, where the guy puts on the Darth Vader mask and he goes to the girl and they have sex and all that stuff, and then she, but it comes to a different end. And,
Terror Train.
Oh yeah, there you go. And Terror Train 2, that's that. Totally spaced that. So that's the other horror reference. That was probably right around this time, I think, just before maybe 1980 Canada. So she leaves with him, and she has sex with him and takes off the mask and finds that it's the scarred guy Miguel, and he freaks out and just like starts stabbing her, and then it cuts to the German title screen for the film Bloody Moon. So then it jumps ahead to after the credits to a couple years later, where you find Miguel being let out of the hospital in care of his sister Manuela, and Jess Franco plays the doctor in the scene, which we had spoke about earlier. It's funny as a director that he chooses to put himself in the films because he's a pretty good actor. I mean, but you always know it's him. But it's always kind of cool, too, to watch this because he always changes his style. Like in this, he's kind of like clean-shaven. He's got kind of long hair. He's wearing the doctor's white lab jacket, and he's got the turtleneck on, And, I don't know. I thought it, like we were saying, I thought it was a very cool cameo.
Yeah, and he's doing the whole, like, whatever you do, you can't rile him up.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's totally like telling her, okay, don't mention what happened a couple years ago. Just remember how it is, and you're in his care. And he basically lays out the whole trip. And it's funny, while watching this, even though Jess Franco wasn't the writer of the script, it reminded me kind of Sexy Sisters in the part where the one person is going to inherit all the fortune unless they go mad or go crazy, which is an old theme. I mean, that's not a Franco invention or anything, but this uses kind of that same story of that, where if the guy doesn't get it, then his sister will. So the sister tries to connive the brother to either kill somebody, get arrested, or go crazy or whatever. So, yeah, I was watching that and I was thinking about that I could tell it was kind of going in that direction. So then it cuts to a train, and then that's when you first hear the fake Pink Floyd guitar music. And then also, too, so it cuts from there to the, I don't know the sound, but it's like the Brady Bunch Hawaiian, that kind of whistle thing. I was like, what? They do that a couple of times. It's like a danger cue, So yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. They cut to that. So then the woman, the main lead of the film, Angela, she sees Miguel and Manuela on the train, and she gets freaked out because they're like staring at her and watching her and stuff. And then you start seeing it's almost from her first shot, she's very high strung. I thought her and Manuel and Alvaro, the instructor, I thought those three were really good leads. And it's funny, the sister Manuela, it's like every film that Lena Romay's not in, I almost think like, oh, that could have been Lena Romay's part. And the sister almost looks like Lena Romay, of her hairstyle and the part that she played and her delivery. And I think Franco does that. There's a couple of films I've seen recently where he'll put a woman that looks like Lena in that part, or so. I don't know. I don't know if it's done subconsciously or if it's done on purpose or what, but it's.
I don't know anything else that actress has been in, and not that I'm a big aficionado on like German film.
Right.
But I, many of the actors in there were German because it was a co-production. And I didn't really find any information about her other than having been in that film, whereas the lead and the person that played Miguel, they all had other, other things that they did in their career. So I was like, did he just go out and find some woman that sort of had that Lena Romay quality?
Oh yeah, the one for the sister. Yeah, that's totally odd. Yeah, no, okay, yeah, I was wondering about that because they don't talk about her in the documentary. They talk about the lead, Angela, and everybody else, but not about her. Yeah, and it was such. I mean, it's it's so funny how much that she resembles her and just everything all the way through. So yeah, and it's funny too. Like whenever I watch these, I always wonder like, why wasn't she in this film? Was she doing another film, or did she just didn't hire her, or was she doing producing on the behind side, or whatever? I don't know. I mean, Franco gets on screen, but you know. So yeah, so then we see the second full moon shot where it cuts to the villa and Miguel's pushing his aunt at night. So they keep presenting the full moon and the scarred-faced Miguel as almost a red herring to try to draw you into that direction. And I will say Miguel had like the fucking coolest jacket like in the fucking thing.
What is that painting on the back of it?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Oh my god! I kept zooming in on it last week.
Yeah, okay.
What is going on? This dressing is so rad that they have going on. The whole I will say the costuming and the aesthetic is spot on. I mean, one of the scenes where we first see Angela, she's wearing like a Grace Jones sweatshirt. It's
that totally caught my eye. It was like a gray sweatshirt with Grace Jones like right in the middle. It was really fucking cool. But yeah, that painting on the back is almost like it's like a Geiger kind of Debbie Harry, almost like that picture kind of, but it was like changed into like a pinball thing or a sci-fi. I don't know. It was just a cool like. A lot of influences on that, and then the inside of the jacket was like a tiger kind of print inside. I was like,
it's like if Geiger if they were like draw Metropolis.
Yeah, yeah, it was like Geiger's heavy metal or some shit.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. I was just I focused on that. I was like, wow, and that's what I like about this film is like there was so much style that would just like suddenly come out and then go away, and it's just like, and if you watched for it, you would see it, but if you were just doing something else, it would totally you would totally miss it, you know. And that's what I think from watching this. You see Miguel pushed in. Okay, so then an unseen killer comes in, and you see the old aunt in bed, and they like flash this light on her, and it scares her, and then you see this like flame come in, and it kind of like puts the flame in front of her face. And it shows that it's burning her face, but you don't really see like a gore effect or anything. It was more like shot through the flame, which is a cool effect. It was almost like the burning, or Don't Go in the House. Or was that the one with the flame? Yeah, that one where they kind of superimposed the flame on top of the woman, so it looked like she was being burned, but she wasn't, you know, kind of like a layered shot, which I thought was cool. But that actually looked like it was just shot through the flame with the camera, so I don't know. But, yeah, so you got to see that. And then... okay, so then when I was taking notes, I suddenly was like, even though he's not dead, I was channeling Joe Bob Briggs because I was like, all right, then we have language lessons foo, then we cut into the tennis playing foo, and then we have the two topless girls by the pool pushes a guy in the pool foo. So yeah, so all of a sudden you just have like all these random shots of the language lesson and then the tennis playing. And then you see the naked girls by the pool, and that was a good jump. It's like, all right, here comes the nudity. Just like puts it right in there for no reason. Yeah. They're just like, hey, how you doing?
You go right into like Eurosex comedy.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you're at the International Youth Club Boarding School of Languages. Is what the sign says when they like pan onto it, and it's like, wow, somebody made that sign with boat letters, which was amazing. And they're basically at Berlitz school. They're just listening to tapes.
Yeah. And like you were talking about Argento, too, that's almost like the ballet academy almost. Like I didn't think about it until just now when we were talking. Like that's kind of that setting or the Bava, what's the one with the mass killer, like one of its first, the Fashion Institute, Blood and Black Lace. Yeah, Blood and Black Lace. It kind of reminded me of that with all the women and like everybody screwing everybody. And also too, I read Bay of Blood, which makes sense. They're all like fighting over the land, and it's a body count, and you know. But yeah, they definitely do the body count with this. So I made like almost 3 pages of notes going through all this. So Bungalow 13 was where the woman was killed years ago by Miguel. And Angela goes to, of course, Bungalow 13. So they put her right in the same place where the murder occurred years ago. So I think somebody that's so high-strung and already on edge, let's put her in the place where the murder occurred, because that will set her off, you know.
Actually, and then we're going to gaslight her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. It's like gaslighting, I think, I mean, that, of course, is an old thing and stuff, but it's like, it seems like it didn't really come into, like, mainstream or public conscious until like maybe like 10 years ago, maybe, or less or more, but like it was almost like a thing, and you watch all these now with that in mind, and it totally changes your view of that whole situation. And that was like a totally common like plot device to like think you see something and then the body disappears. Oh no, you're crazy, you're going insane. I mean, that happens so much in films.
Yeah, like Jello loves a high-strung woman who needs to be medicated. And then everyone's like, no. You just read too many books. You just need to take your medication. You're seeing things.
Yeah, there's that great book, House of Psychotic Women, and like this would have fit in that thing. As I was watching it, I was thinking that like, oh, there's all these keystones that they're going through, and it definitely was very, very cool. So then let's see. Angela goes Bungalow 13. She puts on the record, which was the same song as The Train. She tries to take a shower, and Miguel and the other bald-headed guy speaking of hanging up the sign, bald-headed guy was outside her window. So they have these two handymen, and you don't really, I mean, you know Miguel, he's scarred, and he was the nephew of the landlord, but you don't know who the other guy is, the bald-headed guy that just likes to make funny faces and look around at people, and I don't know, pretend like he's driving a car. He's like looking through the window, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, he's like the classic, dopey foil in one of those Euro horror films. Who's just, it's like he's there as like a throwaway red herring. Like he never actually does anything.
Right, he's just at the scene
creepily.
Yeah, he's there like right before or right after something happens, but he doesn't participate in it or know what's going on. You know, yeah. Even though he has those
like a little leering, sinful dwarf eyes on everything.
Yeah, like he grabs those pincers later on, and he's just like, and he's like playing with them. So that was funny. So then we see Miguel and the other guy show up, scare, and then the little kid at the door. So like Franco throws all these plot devices. Like, why would a kid be at the door with like a little knick-knack elephant at night? And all these people show up in the middle of the night. That's one thing I noticed about this. Like the little kid at night, and then the one lady comes over to borrow a pull-up sweater like in the middle of the night. And then another lady comes over to visit her in the middle of the night when she has all this stuff in front of the door. I'm like, why are all these people showing up at like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. just like, hey, I was wondering if you were sleeping or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's being in your 20s. I guess I don't know, but so yeah, there was. So after that, we see the third full moon shot, the empty wheelchair outside with. Okay, now here's the thing too. Who was that topless woman up in the window?
Oh, that I think is Manuela, the sister.
See, but she had blonde hair in a couple shots. Maybe, I don't know, because there's at first I thought, okay, it was Manuela because they show her topless, and then the next shot she's in that see-through negligee with her brother. So I was like, okay, and then they show that woman again. She's just like standing there looking up at the sky, and she has like kind of like a blonde Dutch kind of haircut. And I thought it was Manuela at first too, but then I watched it again. I don't know. I gotta go through it again and see, but it looked like it was another woman, like that was a red herring. But you don't see her any other part of the film.
Nope.
So I don't know if she's like a maid or if she was somebody that lived there, or I don't know. That was bizarre. So yeah, I'll still have to watch that again because that I don't know. That was just weird.
There's also the disappearing school secretary that like tells him at the beginning about like, we owe all these bills and we're in financial trouble. And then you see her again at the disco and she's like, come over to my bungalow after you get done in the disco. And he's like, yeah, sure, baby. I'm coming right over. And he never does. And then you never see her again. And
that's right. Yeah. And she has these really like, I wonder if she was the one up in the window because she has blonde hair. She has like these really strong eyes. She was just like looking at him when he walked away. But yeah, she was like, So then, like I said before, you see Miguel and Manuela, they have the sister-brother kiss, and you realize they have an incestuous relationship for the most part, even though we don't know how far things went, but he likes her because she's the only one that never laughed at him or never was scared of him, so he had affection to her, which she uses to her advantage, because he's the one with the profit. Okay, so now here's probably my favorite part of the film that stuck in my head was when they go to the disco club. The disco club was cool because then it cuts to the disco playing a fake 50s song. Oh, actually, but before that, they go to the disco club and it's playing like a disco song. You see everybody dancing, and it's cool. So the second time they go to the disco club, it plays a fake 50s song. And it stuck in my head, and I started to write the lyrics because it goes,
Shake.
shake, 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 shake your baby. Shake, 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 shake your baby. Shake, 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 shake your baby. Then it cuts to rock your baby, rock your baby, rock your baby, rock your baby. So yeah, so it's funny because like he goes the 50s, kind of like the 50s nostalgia, you know, which was right around that time before and after they did American Graffiti, of course, and then after that with the Stray Cats and all that stuff. So that kind of fits right in between there with the saxophone and stuff. But it was just odd. Like I was wondering who wrote that song. If Franco had anything to do with that song. Probably not, because this seemed like he didn't have his fingers on a lot of the creative stuff with this, you know. Yeah,
that song is like really jarring and so out of place with the rest of the film. And then there's somebody on roller skates.
Yeah.
With like a roller disco element to it.
Totally. You see her first, and she's like kind of like going around in circles, and then like everybody's like so overtaken by how cool the song is. They all get up one at a time and just start like joining in this big dance number.
Also, there's one male on the entire campus except for the teacher and Miguel and the handyman, but there's like one desirable male among dozens of women.
Yeah, that's Paco, the handy, or is it Paco? Yeah, Paco, the handyman.
Yeah.
Because, Miguel, Manuela, Alvaro. Yeah, Paco. So, yeah, he's the one. And then he's another red herring because you see him arguing with the sister later on. But, So yeah, he's the one. And when he's at the club, like he has like 3 girls just on him when he's trying to get with Angela, and just like everybody wants to go to bed with him. And it's cool because there's so many red herrings in this, because there's the blonde girl that gets jealous that was faking like she was having sex with the guy in the room, and you think, because you see the body in the closet, and you think she did it, and like there's so many cool like things. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead. So then you see, here's my notes. Antonio with the 3 women. There we go. And but what thing I thought was cool, there's this cool phone in the disco. She gets up and she goes to the phone. It's like this light around the phone, and it's just there, and it's a square. I thought that was like, it's like, I don't know, it was like a fucking cool thing.
No, the disco's got a great aesthetic, and it's like, okay, first of all, we're at this weird language school with bungalows and a giant pool. Like the whole centerpiece of the school is a pool.
Yeah.
And then there's a disco where you can get a simple meal at night.
Right, that's right.
And but then you're just going out and boozing it up all night and like listening to this weird 50s, 70s music. And the couch, there's a super cool couch in there that I would love to own. It's this white leather, like marshmallow couch that they're all cuddled up on, and it's pretty stylish.
And it's cool too, because like I always make a remark that in every Jess Franco film, he has at least one dance scene, and it's usually in a place where everybody's sitting around watching 2 women or 2 women and a man, or some kind of an act that's going on. That's a performance. That's a show of some kind. And this was the same thing. It was like everybody was getting up and dancing. Like there wasn't no centerpiece, but everybody was dancing, having a good time. And he made sure. It's funny. There's always like one dance scene in almost every Jess Franco film, which is kind of cool because like as a filmmaker myself, I was thinking about dance scenes like about a couple months ago, thinking, that's a cool thing because people like to watch people dance and have a good time. And if you think about from film all the way through, like dance scenes have always been an important part of a lot of films, and they're not in every film. Like I don't think there's a dance scene in Frankenstein or this or that, but
oh my god, I wish there was.
I know, but there's like there is in the Family Opera. So I mean, there's just like so much different stuff. So it's just like, but dance scenes of every you can either just put one in or build the whole film around it, like Saturday Night Fever. I mean, there's so much dance stuff that's such a simple human thing that people always enjoy watching,
Yeah, and it gives you that sense of security. Everything's okay. We're just at the disco and we're dancing and we're having fun with our friends and we have no bras on and we're wearing cashmere sweaters. It's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't think about that too. It is that like togetherness that people always want to be a part of something. So when you dance, you're doing your part along with everybody else to get something going. So yeah, that's interesting. That's like a common thing with him. So Oh yeah, so then you see the topless woman in the main building window looking up the full moon, where it cuts to that thing. So then it cuts to Angela in bed reading before she sleeps, and she's reading a book, Poe Must Die, and I guess it's a detective novel, but I don't know if he put that in there because of Edgar Allan Poe or if that was a popular novel at the time or what. I'm not sure. But,
yeah, I don't know either. But there is, I love, like, it's such a good scene because it's the voiceover of literally everything that's happening as she reads it aloud in her head.
Oh shit, I gotta go back and watch that now. I totally didn't catch that.
Oh yeah, because it's like, she's laying in bed getting ready to go to sleep, but doesn't know the killer's outside her window stalking her. It's all about her like childlike innocence while this menacing force is outside of her window. There's a lot of weird dubbing and some really corny voiceover and dialogue, but that part's pretty sharp.
Yeah, no, it's funny. All of his films have varying degrees of dubbing. Some are really good and some are not the best. This one was a lot more, everybody seemed bubbly or very scared. Like, it was there's a lot of ups and downs to the talking. Not sing-songy, but just had a lot of bounce to their speak. So then you see her reading in bed before she goes to sleep. You hear the guitar music, the Pink Floyd song plays, and then the black-gloved person in the room. And it's an odd shot. You see the hand coming across the shot with a knife, and then there's a knock, and then the hand pulls back across real fast. And that's one of the first things you see, and he carries it all the way through. And one part later on that I'll pull, it's like the cherry on top of the sundae for style. So he's always, he's like backing out of the shot, and he always walks backwards. Everything's back. He keeps his back to the camera. He's always backing away from things, and he doesn't move forward. He's always turning and walking backwards, and like that's a thing. That's like his gimmick or what he does through it. So then when the black glove killer, so there's a knock at the door, and it's Ava. She stops over to borrow a pullover sweater, and then she, for the benefit of us, she gets topless, and then the hooded killer stabs her from behind through the breast, which I thought was a really cool gore effect.
With the tip of the knife coming out right through her nipple, it's just so stylized.
Yeah, no, that, beautiful. And it's so funny that like that's not regarded as like more of a history like gore effect, because I thought it was really fucking cool. You don't see that a lot, you see it from the front to the back, or just you don't see it go all the way through and through the nipple. That just was so. Yeah. And then she falls, and just the way it is, it's just a very beautiful fucking. And even when you see her body later hanging up and it's still there, and it's the knife's kind of like bouncing a little bit down with the natural weight, I thought that's fucking really cool. It's not stiff or anything, But so yeah, he stabs through the nipple, and then Angela goes for help, and when she finds someone to help her, I believe it's the handyman that comes in, the body disappears, and so then she gets freaked out, and then you see the body gone, and they believe that she's just kind of being frantic, like you were talking about, gaslighting her, and she keeps thinking she's seeing things, and she's very high-strung all the way through. And then it cuts to her going to look for her friend that was just killed, and one of the most beautiful shots in the film, he's going to this like seaside harbor town, and you see this giant like hill with this like giant stone in the background, this giant, I don't know, I can't describe, like a mountain or whatever. It's just so beautiful, and that was a really good shot.
Like a shot in Spain.
Yeah. He shot this in Spain. Yeah.
Gorgeous when you get larger shots of the landscape, and you're not just tight on the set shots.
Yeah, because there's one shot in the beginning where she's walking through the bungalows, and you can kind of see the city in the background, and that was like a nice vista shot. I was like, oh, that looks really, really cool. So he pulls it off a few times in this film. So then as she's looking in the harbor, we see, so here's the thing, one thing that bothered me in the film was her textile lion shirt that she was wearing. That 80s, because I remember those shirts like that style like that, just that all over print. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know they're trying to be cool or trying to be, but that just looks so bad, and that just to me did not age well. I don't know.
No, they should have just brought back the Grace Jones sweatshirt.
Yeah, that or
that shirt like the rest of the film.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, because she like pulled over the stuff that she could have worn. I was like, oh, she should have wore that. But yeah, that fucking, oh man, yeah, that and she gets a lot of use out of that shirt because it gets tore and she wears all the stuff going through, and I think that's like the last outfit she wears is that fucking giant lion shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She has great Stevie Nicks hair also.
Yeah, no, and I was looking at like her lips and her cheekbones and stuff, and yeah, I was like, because I'd never seen her before or heard of her, but I kind of want to see what film she was in and stuff, because I guess she did a lot of German films and such, but I don't know any of the titles offhand. So, but yeah, she seems really cool, and she's a really good actress, and she was really believable, and she didn't overact, but she definitely seemed, oh gosh, that was the role, but she was so intense all the way through, and she seemed believable as what she was doing. So then let's see where we at here. So the woman in Bungalow 13 with the dead body is in the closet. We see her. We figure out what happened. So then from here, I'm going to kind of like be a little more discreet because I'm not going to tell you how it ends. I don't think we should give away who the killer is or what happens or what. But we see. But before that, one thing I can say is we see an unseen man that picks up the. I don't know the gal's name. Let's see which one it was. One of the four blonde gals. No, what was it? Inga.
The one that gets that goes to the stonemason.
Okay, so it's Inga. Yeah. So then, so she was. You see her leave with a guy, and even though she says, "Oh, I never seen your face. You're wearing a mask." There's a shot where you see the car drive by, and you can see it's a guy with blonde hair. That's probably the stunt driver because that's not the person that we find out. But yeah, the hair of it was like the blonde hair from the distance. I was like, okay. But he's supposed to be wearing a mask because she says, "I never seen your face," and he's wearing the black gloves. And he takes her out to the little stonemason place that you spoke of. And but before that, we see this little kid with a telescope, and he sees what's going on. And he's like, "Oh," he's kind of precocious, and he kind of like follows him in, and he's like, "Oh, I wonder what he's doing with her there. He shouldn't be taking her there," or something like that. And then
I love a creepy kid.
Yeah.
At least one creepy kid in every film.
Yeah. And that wasn't the same kid that sold the trinket, I don't think.
I don't think so either. Like this was. I think this was definitely a different kid, and man, they really make use of him.
Yeah, and actually, I like that kid. I thought the kid was a cool, tough little kid for what we see. So basically, the guy takes this woman, and she thinks they're going to have sex or whatever, so he ties her to this giant's, I guess it was a stone or granite or some kind.
Yeah.
Because at first I thought it was ice because of all the wet from the blade, but then, so he ties her up, and she thinks that they're doing something kinky in that, so he ties her up to this block, which is, I don't know, pretty stupid that she lets that happen, I think, but whatever. I guess she said, "I told you I'm up for anything."
She's this weird, pitiful Pearl character who, for some reason, is as beautiful as all the other blonde, busty women at this school, but can't get laid. Like, she's that character, just for the ugly duckling, if you will. Because there's one guy to go around for the whole school.
Exactly.
So I think it's the like, oh, I'm finally gonna get with some dude. I'm just up for anything, and then yeah. So then what happens is we see her get tied to the deal, and the hands start going over, and he starts turning on the saw, and she realizes that she's going to be getting cut in half, either by her head or up her body. So the blade comes down, and while that's going on, the little kid is watching from outside, and he sneaks down from the window, and he thinks he's like going to watch it or go away, but he runs in, finds a way into the room, and then he looks up and sees the power lever and figures a way up. And as the blade's getting closer to her, he plays the hero and jumps up, fucking grabs a switch, hits the switch, and turns off the blade. And then you see the guy step into the frame. The little kid kicks him in the leg and then takes off running. Like, yeah, he fucking gets a shot in and then takes off running because he knows he's going to get beat. So he gets a shot in, tries to get over, gets a shit in, and takes off. So I thought that was pretty cool. So he takes off running. Yeah.
and
it's really breathtaking too, because it stops the saw for a second.
Yeah.
The woman that's strapped to this thing has this moment to breathe of like, oh, I'm saved.
Yeah. You see the relief, and that's one thing too. Franco talked about in the documentary was it's good to show horror in smaller doses and smaller things, because then it's more potent instead of showing something all the way through. And that's why he didn't like a lot of the gore effects in this, because you see it for it lingers too long. And I do agree. I mean, there's people that like to see, which I do like to see it and see how it works. But on the other hand, too, seeing something for a brief second is a lot better than 10 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever, you know. So the little kid kicks him in the leg and takes off running, and then the guy turns back on the lever, and the saw comes through and cuts her head off, and we see her head fall off, and then we see the blood, then we see more blood coming out of her neck, then back to the head again, then back to the neck squirting blood, and back to the saw. And so yeah, they really get their use out of that effect.
There's this pause when the head comes down, and then they go back up to the torso and the neck stump, and then there's just like 2 or 3 seconds before all this blood just starts spurting out, like super just gore. And it's really beautiful, because it's like that pause actually makes it so much more effective.
Yeah, it's almost like sex. It's just like, you know, it's like, instead of just having it go all the way through, it's just like, oh, here it comes, and then it happens, and it's like, So yeah, it's very nice. And then the best thing, so then the kid takes off running down the street. The guy's like, okay, well, the kid saw me, so now I got to take care of the kid. So he gets in the car, and you see the little kid running down this like cool little rock path, or this little or the 2-lane road, and it's like on a hill, and the guy in the car comes up behind and runs over the kid, and then the shot where the little kid's laying there dead, he's like has his hand across his chest where he's like kind of like laying there, and to me I kind of giggled because it looked like he's like taking a nap, you know. But that's cool that the parents let the kid do that shot, you know.
It was, and it's like a straight up no compunction kill.
Yeah.
It's like you realize, you're like, oh man, they're just going to kill this little kid off. That Mercedes is just going to run right over that kid. And they do. And they don't linger on it. It's just like, yeah, that kid's out of here. No grief.
Yeah, and that's really like shocking to kill a kid. And even back in 81, it was even more shocking, you know. It's like, whoa, they actually did that. Okay, cool, you know. But hey, I mean, shit, you're cutting off women's heads. You're doing all this other stuff. Why is that something that you can't do, you know? So
they do a good job like that. Like, this person is a cold-blooded sociopath. Like, there's, you know, no holds barred. No one's safe.
Exactly. All are equal, just like Sam Peckinpah, you know, style.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so then let's see. He runs over the kid, and then Laura comes over and visits Angela. She's barricaded in her bungalow, and she's all freaking out. And then you kind of see everybody going, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you so freaked out?" Because she had just before that, you see a shadow, and you think it's a figure, and she stabs the person. Even though when it falls, you can see it falls over like a tree falling, and it's not a person. Mm-hmm. So she thinks she stabbed somebody, and then Laura comes in, and she's barricaded in there, and she says, "The person tried to stab me. They're in there. So then they go in there, and they go to try to find her. And then she sees it's just a sewing dummy. Is that what they call that? Okay,
yeah.
A sewing dummy. And then she realizes, she goes, "Oh, okay." And she realizes that she's just freaking out and stuff. So she goes, "Well, and she goes, I could use a beer. I could use a drink." So then Laura goes down and says, "Well, let me see what I can get from the disco club." So she goes down to the disco club while the hooded killer's watching her, along with Miguel, and I don't know if the bald guy was watching her too.
I think they were all. I think like that's where you just get like the threefer, and you're like, who?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and even the bald guy's like Curly. You had like Mo, Larry, and Curly, because one guy had like Larry Fine hair, the instructor, and then Miguel could be like Mo. I didn't think I just now. Three Stooges.
You got your red herring Three Stooges.
Exactly. So then she
also, there's a terrible cat jump scare.
Oh yeah.
I love a crappy jump scare.
Yeah,
I think they actually just threw the cat at the actress.
I exactly think the same thing. Yeah, he uses tons of that. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, there's like
It was Friday's guest appearance in the
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what he's getting in his shots. So then before that though, she sees like 2 open doors in her home, and she's all like freaking out. And then you see the cat jump in. It's like he's like throwing in all the tricks, which is funny, you know. Yeah, I was like that cat, and then she puts the cat out of the way, and then the cat just goes away, and then you don't know what happens to the cat, or the cat's just a total non-factor, you know.
Yep.
So then she comes back from the club. She goes to the club, and she has these 4 giant beer bottles, which I was laughing at. She's like holding these against her breast, and she's like walking back, and she keeps stopping and looking over her shoulder because she thinks there's people watching her, and she's all freaking out about it. And then as she gets up to the door, these giant steel pincers come out and go around her neck and start crushing her neck, and that's another shot that they'd like show way too long. They're like lingering on her blood coming out of her mouth, and the blood, and they're zooming in and showing the close-up of it. And I think that was the first shot where they showed that, like, they flipped that footage, so it almost looks like you like flip over to a 16 millimeter and 8 millimeter, like really grainy. Kill in between, and I was like, is that an intentional effect, or because it looked really cool? But I think I also saw it with the Saw effect. It's like when they went into the longer gore stuff, it was like that was from like maybe an answer print or like a 16 millimeter or something that was like a longer, and they just tacked it on. It's like for that longer shot, but you could tell that was from a print that was more damaged. And since this was the German cut, I was sure that for a lot of the German cuts, they use a lot more violence for those, like with horror and stuff. So I'm sure that was made for that audience, you know.
Yeah, which honestly, it was really effective because it gives us this like surreal snuff film sort of quality to it, where you just you just go into this just strange, completely different film stock and texture during this horrendous kill. So it happens a couple times, and both times I was like, ooh, wow. Did he mean to do that? Is that like intentional? It's very ahead of its time.
Yeah, you know, that's like a really good point, because like that's one thing that, like you're talking about ahead of its time, because like one thing that always I'd bring up to people is like watching the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre on VHS compared to DVD. It almost ruined it for me watching it on DVD, because you see too much. You see all the detail, and it's cool. Like I said, from a nerd point of view, you can look at all the zoom in on the claws on the chair and look at all and draw things and get your stuff. But it's cool to have it grainy, to not be able to see it, because it gives that snuff footage like that, like you're not supposed to see it, and it's something that's 4th generation beat copy of something, and it's wore down, and it's, you know, not seen by everyone, and that's one thing that's kind of lost. And that's, some filmmakers do use that again, and which is great, you know, but that's something but then it gets overkill too and overplayed. So
then you get the Rob Zombie effect.
That's the name I was going to say. Yeah, even though I love knives, that's exactly
same. But you know,
3 from Hell was just like that. Yeah. So so then she has the beer bottle. She's getting okay. So then she's killed by the pincers, and then as that's going on, Angela finally comes face to face with who the killer is. And one thing I thought was cool, without getting in the way, the killer puts all the dead bodies together in one bungalow, and it's like, here's the greatest hits, here's everything I've done. And so
it's your final girl gauntlet. It's a beautiful final girl gauntlet. Like, she gets a head in the bed. She gets
that's the best
hanging kill. She gets like somebody in plastic. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just like all these different ways of all the different kills. You see the knife and everything through that. And then here's the part that everything for whenever I watch a Franco film, I want to say, okay, this is my favorite shot, or this is the favorite thing. So then, like I said before, the hooded killer, he always backs out of the shots. So you see the person who's the hooded killer, and they get in their car, and then instead of driving forward, he backs out of the shot in the car. Mm-hmm. I saw that. I was like, I got really excited, because like, that's such a fucking cool thing. And it's like, the guy has his hood off, and with him backing the car out of the shot, you say, okay, this is the killer. And then, even if you suspected it, this is who it is. And with that touch, I thought that was a really cool thing. And then from there, the showdown happens, and things happen and stuff. And it is quite a showdown. There's lots of blood, lots of weapons.
Twists and turns.
Yeah, a lot of double crosses and a lot of impales. And but yeah, I will say though, the saw thing that's used at the end, that was like a hedge trimmer, I guess. Yeah, it's more like a hedge clipper trimmer, and it cuts into one of the people, and yeah, I don't know. It was a little too, like the person would just stand there and like, stop cutting me. It's like if they could have, I don't know, like push that. Of all the weapons, that was like, the person could have blocked it a little bit easier or so. I don't know. But yeah, and then of course we see the Psycho ending where you see the aunt that's in the wheelchair that throughout the woman's pushing her throughout the film, and she's actually been dead the whole time in the chair, and you see her body all scarred in that. And it's cool that he didn't use like a skeleton or what. He actually used the person with the makeup effects on their face because you could see it was a real person, because you could see the latex around the eyelids from where the prosthetic was glued on and everything. But,
yeah, it's got kind of a nice Helena Marcos quality. That's what it made me think of from Suspiria. Is that old, grizzled, scary?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that witch that throws her head into the shot, and you see like the worms coming out of her face and stuff. Yeah, totally. Good call. Yeah, that was another homage. I think the one thing I always mentioned the Stephen Thrower books. For this one, the later films. I'm going off of Flowers of Perversion. That's the Delirious Cinema of Jesus Franco, Volume 2. And I'm actually getting a poster. The poster they mention here is in the shipment I'm getting coming in for Bloody Moon. And it always threw me off because the Italian poster is, let's see what we got here. Italian distributors, Unifilm, obviously thought that they could market the film as a giallo in the Dario Argento style, retitling it Profondo Tenebrae, and thus combining Argento's classic Profondo Rosso, 1976, with his then current hit Tenebrae, 1982. So yeah, so that's the poster I'm getting, and you see that, and so I'm like, wow, which film is that? And then I looked it up, the credits, I'm like, oh, it's Bloody Moon, okay, cool, you know.
And big plug for Tenebrae, because that is one of my favorite Argento films.
So yeah, it is. It's really good. And his films, it's like, I don't know, I've had all of them for so long, and you watch them and you put them away, just like this, and then a couple years later, you're like, you start itching, you start thinking about things, and you start discovering them again and such. But yeah, no, I think I really like this film a lot. I definitely recommend it. It's a good slasher film. It's got a lot of cool style, a lot of nudity, a lot of blood. It's got good humor. It's, even though Franco didn't write it, it's got some of his plot frames and some of his devices, along with tons of other horror devices, like we mentioned, all the references to other films and styles and all that.
Really good cinematography, photography, like good tracking shots. A lot of really stuff that will catch your eye and keep you interested. Yeah, there's not a lot of zooms in this. In the beginning, there's just a few, and there's maybe one or two out of focus shots where he's a little too close and they walk into the frame and it gets blurry, but that's about it. It's really a very minimal. Franco sometimes goes zoom crazy, and with this, he definitely wasn't zooming because there's really not a lot of female genitalia, so I guess the zooming doesn't happen as much. So no lesbian sex scenes. Spoiler.
Yeah, none of that. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of beautiful topless women in this. So I definitely would recommend it on the 80 scale for that. Yeah, like I said, I guess the Severin Blu-ray is the way to go, or the DVD. They both have the same features. It's the German copy. What else do I want to mention? I'm going to probably mention all the titles and all that other stuff on the intro that I normally do. But yeah, this was filmed in 1980. It was filmed in October of 1980, so that's cool. That's something we both like.
Yeah, October, the number 13.
I know.
A lot of good stuff. The moon. I like it all.
Film 100. It's like a good title. But yeah, so it looks like it was 85 minutes of running time. German running time is 84:23. The UK version is 83:27. I think this is one of the video nasties. I'm not sure.
It is, yeah, okay. Yeah. I was reading somebody else's review of it, and they talked about like it was one of the highly sought after tape trades of that era. Yeah, so that's a whole other like subject. There's a lot of documentaries on the video nasties. That's something I kind of used to get into. I have some of the books, but I haven't watched a lot of the documentaries they've made about them. But I know there's been a lot made, and there's Severin put out some, and there's been a lot of cool stuff about that. So that's another way that Franco's connected to all this as well. So, but yeah, so I guess
this is going to wrap up the Franco Observer review of Bloody Moon. We both give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff. We both enjoy it. Greta's seen it multiple times. This was my first time, and I'll definitely watch it again, and definitely in my Franco canon. So thank you all for listening, and I'll see you on the other side.